Thank you for watching or listening to the ASB Author Showcase, spotlighting authors from around the world. ASB Author Showcase is produced by Author School of Business, an author-owned organization helping authors to fully understand the business side of being an author. If you would like to be on the show or to be a sponsor of the show, simply email us at authorschool@outlook.com. Your hostess for today's show is Charlotte Canion.
I'm your host, Charlotte Canion. I'm an author, speaker, and mentor. And today it's my pleasure to be interviewing Jessica Clancy. Now, she's the author of the book, The Quest for Family. But even though her life's journey was hard, she says, it doesn't define me. I love that comment. And welcome to the show, Jessica.
Hi, Charlotte. Thank you so much for having me. I'm happy to
Uh-oh,
be
did
here.
we lose it again?
Sounds like an echo.
Yeah, so you may not want to move forward towards the computer, kind of stay back a little bit.
Okay, sorry.
Charlotte, let's go ahead and restart.
I'm moving and all excited, doing the dance. Sorry.
Hi, I'm Charlotte Canion, award-winning author, speaker, and mentor. And it is my pleasure today to be interviewing Jessica Clancy. Now, even though her life's journey was hard, she says it doesn't define her. Now, she's the author of the book, The Quest for Family. Welcome to the show, Jessica.
Hi, Charlotte. Thank you so much for having me here. I really appreciate it. And yes, sorry.
No, you are welcome. You know what I like to do in this first session is I love to know a little bit about your background. So tell us about your family and where you came from, just to, give us a little background.
Okay, sure. So my mom had gotten pregnant with me out of wedlock, and she had married Clancy, whose last name that I have. By the time that I was 6, she had married 2 other men, and none of them were my biological dads. We had traveled many places. The second husband was from Germany. So we had lived in Bermuda, Maine, Germany, several places. And she had divorced him because of the abuse and married her third husband, who was in the Navy, that she met again in Bermuda, which also prompted more traveling in my childhood. So it was a pretty active, busy childhood.
Well, I think I read somewhere you've been to 17 different countries. Is that correct?
Yes. So when I was out on my own as a hairdresser, my best friend had finished college and wanted to backpack in Europe and get a Euro pass. And at that time, we had traveled to 17 different countries. So I was on my own. That is in the chapter on my own in the second part of the book.
So this book is kind of your memoirs and about your life and all. Now, did you have any other siblings, or was it just you?
It was always just me. I always longed to have a sibling because I felt very isolated and alone. I felt very isolated as a child. I felt very isolated at school because I wasn't part of the in crowd or any of the groups. So I always longed for siblings. However, years later, when I found my biological dad, who knew that I wasn't born, I did find 2 half brothers. So we do resemble each other. However, my dad's family, the brothers are quite taller. So when you see us together, it's cute.
It's kind of interesting. Well, that's interesting that you linked up with them. But tell me a little bit about your family now. Do you have children? Are you married? Tell me a little bit about who Jessica is today.
Yes, I am. So one of my dreams was to always get married and to break the generational chaos of multiple marriages and relationships and such. And I was in my 30s when I found my husband at church, and we are still married. We are celebrating, we just celebrated 17 years, and we have 2 beautiful children. My son is 12 and my daughter is 8, and she is adopted. So we did do fostering and adoption, and we were able to have her as our forever family, her home.
Well, you've mentioned before, and I noticed in some of your bios that you were did you foster other children as well?
We did. So we were part of the foster movement at our church. It was one of the first that joined community, church, and political together. So we did a fast track licensing program, and we had 3 placements. And one of the first placements, we weren't told some background behind the kids' history, and we were so hyped up to have our instant family and told that we could adopt these sibling children. And when we took them into our home, an incident happened that endangered our son, and we had to give the children back, which was really, really hard to do because we didn't want to cause more damage in their life. And yeah, it was a very unfortunate thing. And we found out it was information that we weren't told in the beginning. So that kind of led up to that event.
Do you ever counsel other people that are in that arena? I guess the fostering arena. Here's a question for you, and I've always wondered this. I have a large family. I have 20 grandkids, so I mean, don't need any more kids around my house. But I've always heard that people get into the fostering because they are looking for that child. Is that kind of your case, or do you see that as a norm, or is there other reasons why people get into the fostering?
Well, I can speak for our family ourselves. I always knew that I had been able to overcome the generational chaos, and being an only child and feeling alone, I wanted my son, and knowing that I was an older parent, to have children. I wanted him to have siblings because I knew what it was like to be alone. And when I'm gone, which I tell my kids, because we won't be around forever, he can have a sister and have other family and carry those memories together and carry a part of us with each other, their parents. So I wanted to give back and help provide a way out of my background for someone else. I know that some people in the church just have a big heart. They want to help people. They want to grow their family. They want to, pour into these kids. Some of the kids may be medically disabled, and they have the capability to help them where nobody else can. So I've seen all different instances of fostering. One time we were on a cruise with our family, we were dancing, and one lady came up to us and said, "Is that your daughter?" And I was like, "Yeah, this is my family." And she's like, "Well, where did you get her?" And I was like, "We adopted her." And she's like, "Well, I want a child." And I was like, "It's not like, you don't just say, oh, like a puppy, right? It's not that easy." So, and we were just out on, the Lido deck of Carnival or something. And, it's not that easy, ma'am. But yeah, some people think that, and it's not. And as far as mentoring people, that's part of what I wanted to share in my book, because there are some things innocent parents go into that don't know that you do involve your family, and you do subject your family to CPS and, to the system when you do foster and adopt. And just being aware of that and knowing how to protect your family is something I talk about in the book. That, somebody has to do it, and we have to stand up for these kids and help them, or else nobody else will. So.
And there are kids all over the world that are homeless or need to be taken away from unfit parents. That I see that actually we have a couple in our church, and it's hilarious. There's 7 of them, and luckily enough, they have the means for all of it. But they're from probably, I think 3 of them are their biological, and the others are adopted from other countries all over the world. So it looks like one of those universal families. So I kind of know, of seeing, where you're coming from. I mean, I know you had a turmoil in your upbringing, but did you always know you were going to write a book, or did you come to that later on?
So when I was younger, I was just in survival mode, just praying that I would be rescued, that my life would change. And this was, I left my mom at 13, so that was still a pretty young age to leave your mom. Later in life, when I was in a pretty serious relationship, someone that I had known cutting hair for many years. We would break up, get back together, break up. I took him to church because I was starting to attend church at that time. And the pastor had told me I would write a book and that it would help someone. And so that was one of my darkest moments.
Okay. Well, Jessica, we need to take a break right here, but y'all stay tuned because I'm sure there's a whole lot more that Jessica's going to share with us. Each and every one of us has a mission in life. Mine is to help people laugh through the good times and the bad. My name is Charlotte Canion, and I'm an author, a speaker, and a host on Indie Beacon Radio. If you need me to speak at an event or autograph my book, you can contact me at charlotte@charlottecanion.com. Thank you, and have a blessed day.
Marianne Fairmouth is a career consultant with 30 years' experience in the national recruiting world, a multi-award-winning author in multi-genres, and a speaker that gives presentations to help you succeed. Her book, Revolutionary Recruiting, made the top 20 global list of recruiting books. Find her on Amazon, your favorite bookstore, or at fairmouth.com. Welcome back to the ASB Author Showcase with your hostess, Charlotte Canion.
Welcome back. We've been talking with Jessica Clancy, and she's got a fascinating story. Now, we all know that there are adopted kids in the world, and that kids they're not happy at home. But I think she has a story that is a little bit unique. When she left her mother when she was 13, as she was just telling us. Jessica, I'd like to dive into that a little bit further. I can't even imagine one of my 13-year-old grandkids, not living with family or with, mom or dad. Where did you go at the age of 13?
So at the age of 13, my family, we were living in Kansas, and the town people already knew that it was an oppressed situation. And I was after a band event, and my friends, I was upset about going home, and my friends came in and started talking to me, and they got the police and they got the school involved. And ironically, my grandmother had already called me out of class and said, "Hey, I know some things are going on at home, and I want to come get you, and you can come stay with me for a while, come to Texas." So I was starting to feel like, a sigh of relief, but really scared. Like, what is my mom going to say? What's going to happen with my stepdad and his temper? And so that night I actually went to CPS, and my grandmother had come to get me, and I did go back with her ultimately. I did find out only recently in writing this book. My grandmother passed away. We buried her on my birthday, so it's been 2 years. But I got my grandmother's daughter's blessing in writing my story. And she had told me that her and grandma had always said that I should have been taken out of the home. But when I look back, I'm really thankful that that didn't happen with CPS permanently, that my grandmother had gotten me from Texas, because I never would have found my dad. I would have been completely isolated from any family, any culture, any heritage, any memories. Completely. I wouldn't have had any family that I was related to. So even though it was a bad situation, looking back, it was really hard to leave my mom, because you feel guilty as a child and you carry that burden. and you're forced to grow up at a very young age, which I had already had to do as a child. But yeah, it was really for the best. So
Yeah. Did you ever get that feeling that you were taking care of your mom sometimes?
no, I always felt like an outsider. I always felt like she was with her person and I was the outsider. Maybe in an aspect, I took care of the house. Like I was the only one who cleaned and who took care of the dogs and took care of things in the house, probably the most responsible one. But as far as my mom, she was kind of always doing her own thing. So
Well, who do you hope reads your book? What is your audience? Who do you want to reach with this, and why?
there's a lot of people. Oh my goodness. I wanted to share so many aspects of my book because there's so many aspects of my life. I really want to share it with people who may be in abusive or dysfunctional childhoods and families, and they may not recognize that it's dysfunctional. I want them to see my story and be like, hey, that's why I feel this way, or I can relate to that. And hey, I'm not alone. And it's okay to create boundaries, because when you're raised in that manner, you don't know how to create safe and healthy boundaries. I hope to open the hearts of many, because a lot of people may not relate to what that trauma looks like. And I want people to be more aware of others around them. There were a lot of people who took me in and were mentors and kind of gave me the attention and love in a productive way that I needed. And I just want to challenge like the world really, or people, to be that person, to help others. And if somebody's angry at somebody else, it's not always about them. It may be their unfinished business. And we can't take that personal either. Maybe that person needs a coffee sent to their desk that morning, or I mean, even at work, the small things. So, I'm hoping that it will help create more unity, and that more people, instead of separating themselves from, I guess, a system of class, or but really just look into the needs of others and help and give back. And that's why I say at the end of the book, if it's a single mom trying to raise their kids, or a grandma, or a foster family, or maybe going to the grocery store for them, or baking with the kids, doing something just to lend a hand, those small acts of kindness can really make a big difference.
Well, it sounds like you're a stewardship, and you're an advocate for those less fortunate. And I wonder if you've looked at any statistics. What are the statistics of dysfunctional homes? Is it in almost all of them, or have you looked at any of that?
So the dysfunction that I have looked at is the decline of families. And families now, the family unit is not what it used to be, and it keeps evolving. And it may never be what it used to look like, but as we all help each other and stand together and love each other, then it's okay to be different, because that's just the way our society is now. When I was younger, I looked at everybody else's family, wishing and praying that could be my family. And a lot of people may not be that fortunate to have that. And if other people can fill that void, because there's a lot of sad and empty and lonely people longing to belong now, if other people can help in that area, I think it would make a big difference. Did that answer your question?
Yes, that answered my question. And what I was leading at is, uh, many of my listeners know, I'm like 77 years old. So I came from the generation when there wasn't divorce.
Mm-hmm.
It was very small. Now, not only do we have so many divorces, we have people that just get married, and they don't understand, that you need to get married for life. I'm so proud of you, and I'm, really anxious to, read your book. Tell us a little bit more of the meat of your book. How did you go about it? Was it hard? Did you cry a lot as you wrote your book? What were the emotions you went through?
So it was a very spiritual experience writing my book. As I wrote it, especially starting at the beginning, it was like God was walking me through my timeline, and it was like I could see it like a Christmas carol playing out, like the past, the present, and then being in the future. And it was very emotional. There were many times I wanted to quit. There were many times that I wanted to quit. There were many times that every time I would be scared to share, there would be somebody who would come in and motivate and inspire me. You have such a great story to share. It's going to help so many people. Just keep looking to Jesus, walking on the water. He made your story. He's going to direct it the way it needs to be. And I still just keep moving forward and sharing it. And you're right. When I was younger, it wasn't common to have 3 divorces in 6 years and 4 relationships. And I do have statistics in the front of my book about the decline of the family unit, which is also the emphasis that I wanted to bring about in sharing my story.
Now, do you speak at a lot of places?
I would love to.
Have you started?
Okay,
you haven't started speaking. Okay.
I would love to. So I've done a few podcasts and I've shared my story with people, but my book was just published April 1st. So I feel like I've already had a lot of exposure in just a short time, but I do know someone that wants to do a women's retreat with her church, and she's invited me, but it's to be decided, like the date and the place and the time. So I know that's in the works, and people have suggested I should do a workbook of my book. So I'm thinking about doing like maybe a book club where I could read it with other women and hear their feedback and how it influences and impacts them, and then create like a workbook, like a self-help workbook of my book. So that's something that I'm kind of toying with in the meantime.
Oh, I think that sounds like a great idea. Well, Jessica, we need to take another break here. This is Charlotte. Please come back.
Thank you.
Are you a poet looking for an opportunity to showcase your talent and win exciting prizes? Look no further than the Authors School of Business Poetry Contest.
Join a community of talented poets and get your work recognized by industry professionals. This is your chance to take your poetry career to the next level.
Our contest is open to poets of all ages and backgrounds, and we welcome poems in any style or genre. So whether you're a seasoned writer or just starting out, we want to hear your voice.
Visit our website to learn more about the contest rules and how to submit your work. Don't miss out on this incredible opportunity to showcase your poetry and win amazing prizes.
Join the Author School of Business Poetry Contest and become a part of a community that celebrates the beauty and power of poetry.
The garden was still there, full of vegetables and flowers, and a little lone rabbit sat nibbling on a pea plant. Cooney picked, chopped, and cooked some cabbage, chop, chop, chop. And Coda picked 2 carrots and cut them into pieces. I'm so happy to have a new friend. The end. Wasn't that fun?
Yeah!
Welcome back to the ASB Author Showcase with your hostess, Charlotte Canion.
We have been speaking with Jessica Clancy, and she has a fabulous story, and she's written the book, The Quest for Family. Now, I told you early on that she had a real rough childhood, but she doesn't let it define her. And if you listen to this interview, you will know that she does not let it define her. Jessica, during these last few minutes that we have of this interview, I need you to tell our listeners, how they can get a hold of you, where they can reach you, where they can buy your books, where they can see you signing your books.
Yes, thank you. My book is available on Amazon, Goodreads. I have my own webpage. It's called JessicaClancyPerseveres.com. You might have to look up perseveres in the dictionary. But yes, JessicaClancyPerseveres.com. I also have a YouTube page, The Quest for Family, at Jessica Clancy. I also have Instagram and Facebook. So yeah, it's just, my handle is Jessica Clancy Perseveres. You should be able to find all of my sites through that handle. And I am approved to, I'm part of the Kroger system in Houston, so I can go to the different stores and sign books and share my story with shoppers that are coming in the store that love to read. So if you love to read, come see me at the different Krogers. I do plan on putting a calendar on my website, so you will be able to follow me for future events on my website soon.
Oh, that's a great idea. Well, in closing, go ahead.
I'm sorry. I didn't want to interrupt. One more thing I'm working on is an audio book, thanks to Alan's recommendation. And it will be available on 50 international podcast sites. And I'm really excited because I'm working on the licensing rights for some of Amy Grant's songs because she really played an impact in my journey. And I want to do that as a tribute back to her. And we've already been in touch with everyone. And I'm also working on a children's book called The Rescue Story with some undertones of fostering and adopting because both of our dogs are rescue dogs. So it will also support rescuing dogs and keeping them for their remaining lifetime and just sharing that story with kids and also a rescue story of how God rescues us. So yeah.
Okay, to wrap this up in a sentence or two, if you had to give advice to someone who had a story to tell, and we all have a story, how would you tell them to go about beginning?
Get a big poster board, which is what I did, and just start making bullet points. And you can turn those bullet points into your chapters. And that's how I got started.
That's really good advice. Well, Jessica, thank you again for being on our show. This has just been a pleasure and very enlightening. And like I said, you and I will talk again. And I want you to remember, a rose is like a book. You can't know its beauty until you look at it. And a book, well, it's like a rose. You won't know its full beauty until you open it. This is Charlotte saying bye for now.
Bye. Thank you, Charlotte, for having me.
Thank you for watching or listening to the ASB Author Showcase, spotlighting authors from around the world. ASB Author Showcase is produced by Author School of Business, an author-owned organization helping authors to fully understand the business side of being an author. If you would like to be on the show or to be a sponsor of the show, simply email us at authorschool@outlook.com. Thank you to Happy Follows for creating the music, Frolic of Words, for the ASB Author Showcase. You can find his music on all major platforms, including